Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Esoteric Thoughts. I am your host today. My name is Priscilla. I'm a psychic intuitive astrologer. Been practicing astrology for professionally for about 4 years now. And I have been studying it about 15, 20 years, give or take. I have two people here with me today. I would like to introduce you guys. Um, you guys can just jump in whenever you want and go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Well, good afternoon, Claire, and I'm a certified astrologer by ESAR, and I became interested in astrology when I was about 12, and I also am involved in dowsing. I also do the tarot, and I made up a couple of maps today. One is on the United States, well, actually, but the Pluto return and
Nice.
how it's affected our lives during the past 3 years. And I'm also ready to speak about the Uranus because I'm a Taurus and Uranus is in Taurus right now. That's why things went a
Absolutely.
little crazy for me. And there was a big T square yesterday with the full moon,
I definitely
depending on
felt
what
it.
part of the country you are. And I might add, well, and it's still on. I mean, for a
Yeah,
couple of days, we're still flipping out over it. I wasn't even able to get it on the air tomorrow, but yesterday. So bear
absolutely.
with me and thank you.
I just said that to Esso
Mm.
behind the scenes, how this full moon and this energy is just chaotic, and we're still feeling it. But go ahead, you can have the floor now.
Well, my name is Gabriel, and I go by Slick Dissident. That's my YouTube handle. And I have discovered that a lot of esoteric knowledge is been disseminated onto the masses without disclosing to them the significance of so much of the signs and symbols that are in pop culture. And so I've kind of taken it upon myself to make an effort to be both a teacher and a student simultaneously.
Absolutely.
And so I call my channel a shared learning experience, and I claim no specialty, but I very much have had a lot of positive feedback from the community. I've been embraced by quite a few esoteric specialists and people who are incredibly well read. And so, yeah, I do my best to try to give context to what I see is a deluge of signs and symbols that so many people just uh, don't have context for. So that's something that I do. We call it de-occulting film and pop culture. So that's something that I'm really into.
Nice, nice. Great. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and begin. I want to start with what you were saying, Claire. Let's start with the energies that we have felt with over the weekend when this full moon hit, and then we can kind of just let it roll from there. So you can go ahead and take the floor if you'd like.
Okay. Pluto is in its exact position. Well, it was a year ago, but Pluto moves so slow. According to the natal chart of the Declaration of Independence, 1776, Pluto returned to its Pluto return after about 240 years. A
Yes.
Pluto cycle is about 240 to 246 years, and it takes much longer to manifest. And so everything that Pluto represents, like the sludge bubbling up to the surface, things that are hidden, things that are secretive, the occult, death, rebirth, reincarnation, taxes, wills, litigations, secrets, government, of course, and Saturn and Pluto are best friends. They get along really good,
Absolutely.
except yes, I was going to bring in the relationship between some of the Saturn Pluto oppositions and how we are on the conjunction now, and it's going to last a while. But the last square before this Pluto conjunction was in the 60s. Okay, so we're dealing with the same issues
Themes.
now that we were with the
Themes.
60s.
Yeah.
They've come back up again. Civil rights, women burning their bras in public places, the Vietnam War, racial equality, civil rights.
I want to add in there too.
All these things are coming up again
Sex.
now.
Like
Yeah,
sex also, like the sex occult world, because we're hearing a lot about human trafficking and things of that nature. And I feel like that's very
exactly.
Pluto as well. So yeah.
Exactly. And I'm going to be talking more about that in a couple of days because I've got some stories to share about that too.
How do
That
you
are
feel
quite
about
shocking.
how do you guys feel about that whole because we know when we had the COVID lockdown, I was well aware of the trafficking prior to that, but I feel like the collective wasn't. And when we had the lockdown, we heard so much through social media about celebrities or government being tied in with human trafficking, child harvesting. Where do you guys feel you are with that? Go ahead, anybody can jump in.
I find it very well. I'll say that this verb in the 40s when MK Ultra was revealed through the film Manchurian Candidate.
Nice.
And I like to spell that with an M, Manchurian, and then I spell the candidate with a K. Manchurian Candidate, as in MK Ultra, because that's what that was revealing. But that fact can be a misdirect. The effect of triggering people is much older than the 40s. The psychological phenomenon of being triggered goes all the way back to the worshiping of saints and telling people stories about like Saint Francis. He speaks to animals and people attach to him with their heart. But then you get to the end of the story and you find out that they were not only murdered horribly, but that somebody spoke terribly about them, or somebody said something about your saint, and so you get triggered. And that psychological phenomenon has been around way longer than we had a verb to encapsulate our visceral response to seeing somebody that we've associated with or attached to with our heart, seeing them be defiled or spoken badly against. That's been weaponized for hundreds of years. So having the human trafficking come forward, it is triggering, but it's also millennia old science to trigger people and activate them.
Absolutely. How do you feel about it, Claire?
It's out in the open now. And another subject is called organized criminal gang stalking, which people cannot wrap their brains around. And that's something we're going to talk about soon because it went on in my life off and on for 20 years.
Wow.
And what they do, yes, and it's going to come to the surface now because Pluto's going to bring it to the surface. Yep. And it'll be dealt with.
Pluto and Aqua.
Yes, and what they do, the organized criminal gang stalkers, they're international. And if you offend the wrong person and they've got enough money and they're involved in organized criminal gang stalking, they are psychopaths who like to destroy a person's reputation, destroy their career, cause them to become homeless, cause them to become alienated from their family, and eventually, and what they do is they don't leave a trace. It's very hard to prove it. And often the police and the military are involved with them. So you can't go, oh, why don't you just call the police and say, you know what I mean? So And so I've been on my own and in isolation now for about a year. This is the first time I've come out in a year. I mean, I've done astrology on the radio since 1990, and I've done television since the 70s.
So do you think that
I had to go underground.
Do you think that you've been, because you've came out with this stuff, that you've been targeted a little bit as far as your reputation, your platform, you know, and what you do for a living. Even, I want to say even sanity.
I
Because
absolutely
will go
lost
against
my.
that.
It gets into your subconscious mind what they do to you, because they isolate you.
Sure.
And they, yes, I became homeless. Yes, I lost my career. Yes, my family doesn't speak to me, but they're Jehovah's Witnesses. So what else more do I need to say?
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of go underground. And every time I tried to come up and rise up and put my life back together again, go back on the air or something, if I had an encounter with a police officer and I mentioned the wrong name, and it started up again. So I've been underground for a year now, but now I'm coming out. I cannot sit with this information inside me and be alienated from society, culture, or not be allowed to live and have fun, you know? And I've learned a lot. Okay.
I love that you bring that up, Claire. I love that you bring that up, because I'm actually experiencing something like that myself now. I'm gonna just put it out there before on this channel. I was an exotic dancer for 20 years. And so I was in that underground world. I've seen a lot of things. Yes. And so when I became an astrologer and I started voicing my opinion on these things and teaching people how to look for that stuff, posting information on Facebook, I started getting shadow banned. I mean, I was locked in Facebook jail for almost 2 years. I had my platforms stolen from me. I am been fired from certain places and I actually have a lawsuit going right now, something like that, relatable to what I was
How
doing
did you manage?
before.
How did you manage to live through that?
I am a Scorpio sun in the I'm a Scorpio 8th houser with stellium, so I'm a very strong person. I'm used to dealing with so many people at me and dealing with the underworld, the occult, you know, the sex life industry. I'm used to all of that stuff, so I know how to maneuver through that. My Mars is in Aqua in the 12th house, so I'm like you. I'm very behind the scenes. If I got it, you know, that's the spy energy. If I got to move and I know it and I feel it coming, I make my moves. But I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I have had to really watch who I associate with, and I've been silenced because of the information I come forth with, and really just showing where the trafficking is all tied in, because it's not just these big people in some other country. It's happening right under our noses with people that we wouldn't even expect are involved. So I'm glad to hear you say
exactly. They wherever I moved all over the country. I lived in my car sometimes, and they would always catch up with me, come in, poison my cats. I was almost poisoned to death in 2003, and but now I have a progressed moon in Scorpio, and my progressed rising sign is Scorpio.
Nice.
And by progression, my Pluto is in Leo in the 10th house, along with my progressed Mercury in Leo in the 10th house.
I'm a Leo moon.
And my progressed sun just went into Leo. And I'm a Taurus, I'm a Taurus, but by progression, and I'll tell you what, you know how we learn in retrospect. I made up charts. When is this going to end? When is this going to end? I could see the finger of God in my chart in several places. But I'll tell you what, I found some master dowsers, and I've been familiar with dowsing since '87. But I have learned so much from the dowsers, and they've worked with me too. In particular, Raymond Graves and Joey Korn.
For the audience, can you explain what that is before you continue? Because I'm not really familiar fully with what
dowsing?
Yes.
It's moving energy with the intention of your mind. And I got this one from Raymond Grace. He lives in West Virginia. And it's a bullet on a chain. You can use a pin, but see, my hand's not moving. But you move energy, and you learn how you can do things like erase people's memories. You can make yourself invisible to stalkers. You can make your car invisible to police. I better not say anymore. My pendulum's saying, stop. So I gotta stop. But you can do, I learned So, so anyway, we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. But the dowsing, because these guys are masters. I mean, Joey Korn put a hologram over my home, and he moves that hologram back to Georgia, and he gets in the energy field of my home and neighborhood and cleans it up. But energy work is like taking a bath. You can't just take one. You've got to learn it for yourself and do it for yourself.
Constantly.
And then Raymond Grace, I'm on a dowsing list twice a day where he continues to clear my energy and erase everything that went on in the past and put an end to it. It's the end of that cycle. It's over for me. It's not coming back unless, somebody grabs my purse in the grocery store, but that's not going to happen either, because when I walk out of this house, I cut all astral cords from it, all energy cords from it by taking my knife and swirling it around and cutting all the astral cords, go out in public, do my thing. If I feel that I need to put a shield of invisibility around me, I will, but not so much so that somebody will hit me while I'm driving my car. These are things that you can do when you get good at it. You have to practice.
I like that. I
or
like
if I was
that.
driving with.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that's something new that I've never. I've heard of it, but I've never really understood what it was. And these are the things that people need to learn how to, to understand that we can manipulate energy. Just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's not there. And it doesn't mean that the, people that are aware aren't playing with things like this, you know what I mean? And so we have to be aware, because if we're not, then we're constantly having things happen and we don't understand why these things are happening. And, so thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you a question.
You go to the masters. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So you said that your Pluto is in Leo?
Yes.
Oh, and you're about to have, and we're about.
So that makes me about 120 years old now.
No, but I'm looking at that opposition with Aqua Pluto to your Pluto, like how that might affect you with what you have going on now. So.
Did you? Oh, you mean, well, Pluto is at the very last couple of degrees of Capricorn. It will go into Aquarius
for a couple months this year.
And then it's going to go back into Capricorn. Then it'll be in for a couple of decades maybe, and it won't reach my 15 degrees, 16, 17 degrees, actually 15, 16 or 17 by progression. It won't reach me probably till I've croaked.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. You're going to feel that opposition. Yeah.
Let me just say one thing. You can literally, with dowsing, you can cancel out any what you consider to be non-beneficial energetic patterns that are in your natal birth chart or going on in, say, the Schumann resonance and in the outer planets. You can literally cancel out by dowsing. You can learn this from Raymond Grace. There's no D on Raymond. It's Raymond Grace Foundation.
Okay.
And he's online, and he is a hoot. He packs a 357. Okay. And he lives in Virginia.
Love it. I love it. I'm in Kentucky, so I know how it is around here.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say where I am.
Okay, so
okay,
Gabriel, how do you when you're hearing all of this and we're talking about all this stuff like dowsing and just like with what's happening in the world, what is your stance with that? How do you work through energy that you feel like is messing with you or attacking you, and what are your techniques?
Well, I've recently learned a phrase that I'd love to pass forward to everybody, and that is the idea that the subtle informs the gross. And so these subtle energies of dowsing and casting your intention forward into the world ritualistically and with all the verve that you can summon into the moment of the intention, it emanates forever forward. So when you make, speaking of invisibility spells, these are things that have ancient origins. I believe it's Oranos who has the helmet of invisibility. And so these are knowing these elements can edify and reinforce the spells and the intentions that you put forward. And I fully believe in these things in a major way. So the more that you can learn and know about these elements, the better you can get it in on the game, you know, and take control of the subtle to inform the gross. And also, I learned something that just never ceases to amaze me, is the fact I learned a while back that the word Plato, the philosopher, the name Plato, when you look into its
Right.
fundamental definition, it means like a plotter or a plow. It also means to govern or to control. And then I
Hell
realized
and Hades.
hell and Hades, and I realized, well,
Hell and
that
Hades.
is,
Yeah.
yep, that is also powerfully correspondent to the planet of Pluto. And
Absolutely.
so what is fascinating to me is that we are told that Pluto was discovered in the 40s or established in astrology in the 40s, but the name of it is far more ancient, and it has a consistency that would appear miraculous. The fact that they gave it the perfect name for its actual effects on us here on Earth. And so what I've done is I've taken it upon myself to actually engage the writing of Plato in a very deep way, because the subtlety of those ancient myths and those ancient stories, the system of the philosophers, is still pulling the strings in governments. It's plotting our path, it's plotting our course. And it's so profoundly important. And the more I learn and accumulate these supporting evidence that this subtle energies are governing over the systems that people think are mundane, or they think that it's coincidence. You know, they give themselves a lot of comfort in dismissing things as coincidence. But the fact is, there is consistency beyond people's wildest imaginings. And that's part of what I keeps me going, as I find out that the word Plato and Pluto, they don't just sound alike. They share a spirit.
They're interchangeable.
Fully.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love knocking down those little boundaries that people put up to make themselves comfortable with, like, oh, that's just a coincidence that Pluto was named something that sounds like Plato, and they both mean governor, they both mean plow, they both mean that they're turning over the earth and bringing up the new. And that is the spirit of the age that we are in with Pluto's return.
So I'm assuming that you study etymology. You take the roots of words and you break them down to what they actually mean. And this is important, right? Because we need to know what the energy vibration is behind these words, because words are spells. So I like that you brought that up. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So I guess let's talk about the full moon, okay? Because we did not get to that part yet. So I'll give you the floor, Claire, if you want to start there.
Well, it was a difficult full moon for the fixed signs, especially Taurus, because they don't want to change, right?
Me
I'm a
too. I
Taurus,
have
but
no
anyway.
Taurus. I have no Taurus, but I have 6 planets in fixed signs. So I was like, yeah, it was hard.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's tough. Fixed sign. Aquarius, Leo, and Taurus, and Uranus were involved, of course, which made it really intense because it was a T-square. People were becoming very explosive. I noticed that in my environment, immediate environment, a Scorpio went off the hook. And I knew exactly what was going on, and I dismissed myself, wrapped myself in light, and tried to just clear the energy in the house. And we have to kind of wait it out, because we're still going to feel the effect of this full moon for a couple of days. But we're doing this in February, and everybody should know that. Well, by the end of March, everything changes. You know, all the planets are direct now. But
Pluto
by
moves
the end
into
of March, we're
Aqua,
going to look
Saturn
back
moves into
at
Pisces.
this time and say, we are not, my moon's in Pisces. And I've had Neptune sitting on my moon for like 3 years at 20, almost 23 degrees. So there you have it.
I am
But
a
anyway,
Pisces rising with Jupiter conjunct, so Neptune has been kicking my ass. It's been a complete fog, just like what you're going through. And I'm really actually happy for Saturn to move into Pisces. I need some grounding. I need some reality checks. So I feel for you.
my Jupiter, my Jupiter and moon are in Pisces, and it happens to be in the 7th house, which can be open enemies.
Oh,
Or
wow.
it can be the people you trust, your friends, your lawyers, your doctors, your astrologers, or your
Yeah.
open enemies, perhaps.
Absolutely.
So, and mental clarity. I'll tell you what, having transiting Neptune conjunct my natal moon, and then having the moon in Pisces come around and line up like that, opposing my Mars at 22 Virgo.
Oh, Lord.
I feel like I've been on I could scry, I can hallucinate. I feel like I've been on an acid trip for about a year.
Listen, this is the
I'm
first
a
time I
child of
ever
the
tried
60s.
shrooms too. When Neptune moved into Pisces, I was like, let me try a psychedelic because I was just trying to find any way to help me out of this like fog and
To feel better, to feel
Yes,
better.
yes.
Yeah.
yes, because Neptune has
I tried to get shrooms and I couldn't get them. I tried to get them, I couldn't get them. They probably did me, universe did me a favor by not letting me get my hands on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I needed some purging, man. So, but I was just really trying to make sense of that Neptune because it's been very, very prominent. It's been very much hiding a lot of things. I know that Pisces is the hidden house anyway.
Bog walker.
Yeah. So with Neptune,
Bog walker.
the double whammy.
The veil of Neptune.
Yeah, just covering
and with my moon there sitting on my moon. Okay. But anyway, by the end of March, I guarantee by the end of March, we're going to look back at our lives as they were the past 3 years and the shitstorm that happened on the planet. And we won't recognize when we get into March, the majority of people will have a much better, feel a much better and be in a much better position. And things are going to be moving forward quickly now because Mars is direct and it's going to be out of its shadow in March, I believe. I've got all the notes written down, but I'm just ad-libbing now. But I just wanted to let everybody know, that hang in there till the end of March. We've got some, we've got our aspects coming up. Some of them are sweet, some of them are not so sweet.
Yeah.
We've got some good communication things opening up this month, where people can settle and resolve issues because Mars was in Gemini for 7 months. Well, it will be 7 months.
Yes.
How crazy is that? It's
That's
usually only a couple of months, right?
Too long. Too long.
So, but there are aspects coming up this month astrologically where you've got a couple of days. I've got it written down somewhere where you can actually. I'll tell you what. We've got a Mercury square Uranus on the 21st of February, but then it's followed by Mercury trine Mars. And then we have a Venus in Aries conjunct Jupiter in Aries, which is going to be real fun. But the Mercury trine Mars in Gemini, I believe, will really allow people to resolve communications, some of their Martian war issues, battles that they have gone on in their life over the past 6 months. You can even make friends again with people you never thought you'd be friends with again. Things like that.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's a good time to resolve some issues this month. Yeah, good day to talk. Good couple of days.
As of March, let's go back to March, like what you were saying. In March, we do see I look at it like this. In March, we're about to see a whole new world because Saturn's moving into Pisces. We've got Pluto moving into Aqua back and forth at that 29 degrees. We know 29 is a critical degree. So how do you feel that with those energies shifting, do you think that humanity is going to be able to get some reality with what has been hidden behind the veil, especially with Saturn moving into Pisces? Knowing that Saturn is karmic, do we see people seeing things for what they really are, and people like the people higher up, since they are authority, do we see them being exposed more, that stuff coming to the light? Like, what is your take on that?
Yes, 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 and yes. It's just going to keep bubbling up. Pluto takes hundreds of years for us to really, and we won't be on the planet when the final resolution of what Pluto is trying to do. People are terrified of Pluto because it's their ego.
Yes,
Pluto will dissolve your ego. People are afraid. They're afraid. They're afraid to go underneath into the shadow. They're afraid to be taken down there by Mercury and go underneath there in Pluto and let that stuff come up so it can be healed and resolved. They're terrified of it.
Yes,
but if you can hang in there with Pluto and work on your shadow, underground with Pluto, and work out your issues, you're going to get the best. You're going to work on the higher octave of Pluto and get the best out of it. But if you continue to hide your problems and things, people are going to be exposed left and right. And more people that's one of the things that's coming up this month too. In a week or two, we're going to have another, during the month of February, there's going to be some really interesting, nutty things that people knew nothing about that are going to be exposed. It could be government, it could be about wars. It could be about people living inside the earth. I mean, it could be I
was actually going to bring that up.
Who's not.
I was going to bring that up because Jupiter is in Aries, so that's more kind of like just imploding. And then you're right about the potentially something living in the earth, people or like we're going to find out some hidden stuff. And so I like that you brought that up, because I feel like Pluto moving into Aqua back and forth until we get to 2024 is really just going to give us little like tidbits of what it's going to reveal. I kind of look at Pluto and Aqua like very alien-like, or like different type of beings or something of that nature. So I love that you said that.
Uranus.
Yeah, Uranus. Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have some stuff. It's coming up. Uranus is crazy. It's
Uranus
Aquarius.
Is
it's
in
outer
Taurus,
space.
and that's the Earth. That's an Earth energy. That's
it's brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I'm at the Hierophant in the Tarot. So there you have it. A bit thick, but I love having Uranus in. Oh, I used to say that on the radio all the time. You're supposed to say Uranus, but just for fun, I would say Uranus because I think it's funny. But I can get away with it because I've got because Uranus is in Taurus right now.
Yes, ma'am.
But, and it's good for Taurus. Taurus is going to have a great year. Taurus is going to have a great year.
I feel like Taurus have been getting hit hard, man. They're very stubborn. They're very fixed natured and very about their five senses. They don't want to do the Scorpio deep dive. So I think Uranus has really been, even though it's been chaotic, it's really a blessing for you guys. It's really about elevating that vibration. So we have been forced there. The more stubborn and fixed and intractable we were over the past few years, we've been forced to go down there and pull it up. And Uranus is very beneficial for Taurians to be having the icing on the cake of Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, and it's in my ninth house. Jupiter's about to join the party for you guys too in May, so that's going to bring a little bit of abundance and blessings and really smooth out what you guys have been going through. So that's something to look forward to as well. It'll pass through
quickly, but that'll be very nice.
Yes, absolutely.
It'll be very nice. And my Venus is in Aries, conjunct my North Node, which is crazy. It's on my 8th house cusp.
But hey, we both are Aries North Node. I'm an Aries North Node too at 20 degrees.
You betcha.
Yeah.
And I'm having a nodal return now. And my Venus is right there on my North Node in Aries, and Jupiter's coming up there, and it's going to sit and expand the love of Venus. Maybe I'll get that. Maybe I'll expand my mind. Maybe I'll put red leather on with Venus in Aries. That's Mars, right? Instead of cashmere. Like a Taurus likes nice, soft things,
Bring out the whip.
It'll be fun. We're going to have fun. We're going to have fun this year.
So let's talk about how the tarot coincides with astrology, and any other practice for that matter, because I also do cardology and I bring in cardology with the tarot as well. So, Gabriel, tell me how you see tarot, and the archetypes, how they match with, astrology.
Hmm. Well, I want to say that listening to you guys go back and forth is I'm super fortunate that I've been studying for so long, so I can even remotely keep up. In what I like to think of is like, my mind is like a globe theater. It's a zodiac, a globe theater, and what you guys are
Okay.
discussing are like angels of angles blocking these characters as they
Absolutely.
move around and reorient like a dance.
Hmm.
And so your entire discussion that you had, if I was a master theater production, I could actually express everything that you two just exchanged with characters wearing different colored costumes, doing different maneuvers and different types of dancing, uh, and and it would make sense. It's an actual interplay of energy, and I do
And
believe
we put
that
on a good show.
you put on a great show. Yes, and you could even you could do that show in front of the masses. People came into the Globe Theater for the bread. There was free food, and they were having the English language disseminated onto them. And a lot of what I believe that those ancient playwrights were actually doing was actually literally speaking over their head, but informing their higher self. Uh, and so the intention of the playwright may not be obvious on the face of it, but they're speaking to the guardian spirit of the masses and
Right.
informing that level of consciousness. So I'm really lucky that I've done some of the legwork to actually know when you guys are talking about the zodiac. I have a very powerful mental zodiac, but I'm still picking up on the fine details like 29 degrees is important. Okay, let me think of why is 29 degrees important. So I encourage
It,
everybody to
it's
do their
also the
homework.
29th degree of, it's also good because it's the 29th degree of completion, and it's
Yes,
also called the degree of tears. It's just how you handle the energy. And I'm sorry to
absolutely.
interrupt
Nice.
you. I'll be quiet.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, I just want to encourage anybody who, if that went over your head, don't worry. You still retained it. It was speaking to a truth that you are in touch with. We're all in touch with it, and it's all there. And if you were to go 5 years, a hypnotist could hypnotize you and bring you back to the conversation you heard just now, and you could actually
Still in
bring
the
the
subconscious
conversation forward.
mind. Yeah.
Yes. So
Hmm.
you can develop and edify your mind so that you can retroactively give context to a conversation that you didn't have the context in the past. You can change the past by just learning, by learning things. You give context to what has happened already. So I wanted to say that because that that's something I plan to do. I'm going to go and learn about the 29 degrees thing after this. But recently for me, I've learned about that 180 degrees. The
The
zodiac is
opposition.
Right.
Hmm.
yes, the zodiac is a sacred circle,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and I have come to really embrace the joy of what 180 means on a much deeper level. Um, it is the moon card. The moon is reflective. All things are is the 18th letter. So all things are reflective. They're bouncing back. They have a 180-degree relationship. So I think of the 360 of the circle, the sacred circle, is the school. It is the Globe Theater. And
Yes.
I've actually, this is kind of fun. I've taken the alphabet and I've started with A in Aries at the equinox, and I've gone A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 10 degrees for every letter. And when I get to Z, I'm down in Capricorn, 260 degrees. But then there's a remaining 10 degrees that needs to be filled in.
Wow.
So I put the numbers 0 through 9, and I come all the way to completion at Aries again. And so in everybody's elementary
Wow.
school, up on the ceiling, they had the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, Z, and then they put the numbers at the end. And you may not have noticed,
They did,
but
you're right.
there was 360 degrees of knowing encoded in our alphabet plus the numbers.
Wow, I
And
like
so,
that. That's deep.
That's right.
yes, and this right here is like the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of astronomy that somebody is probably circulating and speaking on a pretty deep level.
Yeah.
So that's helped me out a lot. But going back to the 180, so if A is in Aries, R 180 degrees is the other equinox.
Mm.
And so I call this my diction of A, and then you draw a line across to R to the equinox. Well, then I jump up to the I is at the 90 degrees. It's the 9th letter. And then you drop down to Z. And watch what my finger does. A, R, I, Z. This is the sacred cross that everybody's been doing all along. This
Yes.
I call this the diction of Aries. And it's A-R-I-Z is what is spelled out when you do a sacred cross.
Which is the ascendant, the IC,
Yeah.
DC, and the MC in astrology.
Nice, nice. That's great. And so it was recently
Rick.
appreciating and embrace. What's that? Well, I've been appreciating the power of the 180, and things have been dawning on me.
Well, I was
on
going
a
to say
deep-
Rick Levine said, because he would get it, and he comes
Yeah.
upon this type of information by he figures it out. What you just spoke about, the degrees and the numbers and the legends and things, he would enjoy hearing this. Rick Levine.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a master astrologer.
I feel like that's very much
him
on a
out.
vibrational thing. It's all about frequency when we're looking at these numbers and these letters. It's about that vibration that's behind it. So that makes a lot of sense that you look at it like that. I like that.
Nice. So as I embrace the power of 180 and those oppositional, and oppositional has kind of a negative context. I'm letting go of that a lot. I'm just thinking of it as the opposite, you know. So this month we move into February down here in Aquarius, and I realized that this is where the Valentine's Day and the day of love, and you go across the zodiac and you're in Leo, which is the chest. It's the heart center. And it never, yes, it's a gift that keeps on giving to understand these angels and the angles of our language. It's been there all along. I'm just discovering it. I'm kind of late to the party sometimes.
Yeah, the word when I figured out that angels are really just the angles up in the sky, I was just blown away. Like, whoa, that's crazy. So, but explain, Gabriel, how the tarot to you relates to astrology.
Okay. Well, when I was starting off, I was just inspired. So it was Marvel Comics was what really brought me out got me off my butt, and I started actually my own YouTube channel. That's where I initiated myself.
Hi, kitty.
And I basically would do just a standard 12-segment zodiac, and then I went by the book of the little tiny tarot book that I have, and it gave me instructions that the Magi card belongs in Sagittarius, that the High Priestess, she belongs in Capricorn. And then it would skip a station, and then the Empress card, I believe, was in Aquarius, the Emperor card in Aries. It would skip stations, but I'd follow the instructions. I would just keep going by the book. And then I went through 12 stations, and now I'm going on a double pass. I'm coming around a second time.
Yes.
And I find out that I'm filling in the blanks that I missed on the first time. And there's this powerful consistency when you put the tarot onto the major arcana, onto the zodiac, and that it ends with the world card up in Gemini, essentially. And so this gave me a good visual cheat sheet, basically. And so I memorized that, But then I started to kind of play with it as it relates to the Marvel Avengers characters. And this is where I feel like, where it could be a great learning tool for children, because kids love Marvel. But nobody's telling them that the Marvel characters, that the Magi card is Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
They're not telling the kids that. But man, how powerful would it be for the kids to think, I love Doctor Strange. And then my buddy's a Sagittarius. And he actually acts kind of like a Magi.
Exactly why it
Right.
was gate kept. They don't want people to match the energies with people in society and the community. So, Claire, I know you do tarot too, correct?
I am holding in my hand the
Ah.
Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. Okay. Do you love this? I paid $100 for it. A lady had it in her library. Her husband had bought this. And I was going to say, Michael Tessarian, if you want to know about tarot, you've got to listen to Michael Tessarian.
I think Eso, you've had him on here, right? Yeah.
He's old school. He's old school, and he knows his stuff. So, and I love your perspective and your take on it, and how magical you're recreating it. But if you want to know more, check out Tessarian. And I'm just so proud, because I would go on the radio and say, oh yes, my resource today is from the Aleister Crowley Thoth Tarot deck. And we get all these phone calls. Aleister Crowley, he was demonized. The guy is possessed. I mean, he was a heroin addict. He was crazy, so he was evil. But Israel Regardie studied under Aleister Crowley, yes, and was not in France, and was not allowed to. So I've got his book, The Middle Pillar, and I've got The Golden Dawn, of course. But thank goodness for he died in Sedona, I think in 87. He checked out, but I learned a lot from him too, and he learned a lot from Crowley. Crowley got a bad rap. He had very, very, very valuable information. I think Tessarian might even agree that I said one thing right about that today.
I personally agree. I agree, but I also think that people like Aleister Crowley, people with information like that, are demonized because people are afraid. They hear things like this, they're so indoctrinated, they think it's the devil and Satan, and then they just demonize people. So, and I think that causes people to shy away from the information.
That's how they keep everybody dumbed down.
Absolutely.
By hiding the truth, the absolute truth, in the major arcana of the tarot.
Using fear.
All the answers are right there.
God and devil and Satan and church, and these are all tools to induce fear. So I completely agree with you. Right,
fear. That's how they control. I mean, what organization controls you with fear, shame, and guilt? Religion. And guess where the most demonically charged energies are? Churches,
I feel like all systems, schools do that too. It's about fear. Fear to be behind.
Teachers have a big
they have
school
shame.
Teachers have a big problem
you if you don't get it right. They make you feel guilty if you don't do your homework. They
keep their
fear because you're not where the other kids are. And so all of these systems do the same, because even if we look at the medical industry, it is the same the same program. They all follow a certain method, and that's how they control us, for sure. I totally agree.
Well, I did not get a COVID vaccination.
Me neither.
So there you have it. I don't buy into it.
Me neither.
It's all fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a saying a while back that if you want to change the world, you have to be willing to give somebody else the credit.
I like that.
Yeah.
And this goes hand in a glove. I'm being very choosy with my metaphor. This is hand in a glove with the fact that if we know the name of a person in the public, they're probably not the person pulling the actual strings.
Yeah.
Most of
Right.
these figureheads that we're given
They're
are,
the
in
puppets.
fact, being manipulated from
Mhm.
afar.
Puppets.
And this is
Yeah.
quite profound. This is called the clean hands doctrine in equity. Your hands must be clean to deal in equity. And that
Oh,
is,
I like that because I'm learning about,
Nice.
sovereign and
Well
the
said.
law and
Well
all that.
said.
Very, very
yes,
nice. I like how you tied that in.
yes. And if you research what that means, the clean hands doctrine, I'm gonna summarize it. I recommend everybody learns it on their own and goes very deep with it. But one way to summarize it might be to say that um, if there are no receipts, if there are no strings attached, if there's no proof of purchase, no terms of the agreement, no signatures, no contract, then you are removed from obligation. And I have a theory, so everybody should study equity and the clean hands doctrine. There's more to it. There's a lot more to it. But I have a theory that equity is in fact the wilderness.
That has actually imploded. I follow a lot of groups now, like sovereign people who are learning like contract law, how to get
Mhm.
out of the slave system, and that is mentioned a lot, equity. I
Yes.
learned that the courts are literally operating in equity. They're not doing anything else like they give us on the forefront. So I really like that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yes, and so I'm gonna go on a limb, and this is my theory. Everybody should learn what I talked about separate, and just consider what I'm about to surmise, and that is maybe equity is the blackmail industry. Maybe equity is where people have influence and do favors because it's expected, um, because there are no receipts, but they're under duress, they're under a threat or under implied pressure, but there's no paperwork, there's no paper trail for that. So when the president goes and says, and gets debriefed on a situation, the president will say, only tell me what I need to know, don't tell me the dirty parts, so that they have plausible deniability.
So they're
And
not energetically tied into it because everything's about tying yourself in an
yes,
energy world,
yes.
contracts.
So
Mhm.
plausible deniability is crucial to keeping the clean hands of equity, and this is why the Masons wear white gloves. This is
Wow.
why Mickey Mouse
Wow.
has white gloves. This is dealing in equity. It is the
I can
blackmail
see. Yeah.
industry,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
Yeah.
this is really what
Yeah.
gets the gears moving behind the scenes.
Wow. That was very profound and deep. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Check out the big brains on Gabriel.
Yeah,
Keep
man.
talking.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead. Take the floor. You got some more to tell us? I'm all ears.
Tell me some more.
Well, I learned that Sir Francis Bacon wrote a lot of the maxims of equity, and you can read those things for a month straight over and over. You can memorize them inside and out. They're like I was talking about the globe theater, talking above your head to a higher
Yeah.
dimension of the self.
Mhm.
That is the realm that I believe a lot of those maxims are actually speaking in. So
Yes.
with that said, I'm going to admit that I would be in over my head to presume to instruct anybody on equity. But I do believe that that is a very important thing because the word equity is being misused right now.
Yes.
I have a cousin who is a professor at a university. I believe it's basically a social science department. I don't know what it used to be called, but they want to change the name of his department to the Department of Social Science and Equity. But
Huh.
I think that they are changing definitions on a fundamental level that is that's hard to encapsulate with words. But maybe I'll say this. Maybe I'll say this, and then I'll just leave it up to you guys where to go from here. But I have learned over the past year in my studies that the 4 royal stars, which are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, we have Taurus has Aldebaran, we have Leo that has Regulus, we have Scorpio has Antares, And then we have Aquarius that has Fomalhaut. Those are the 4 royal stars. You'll see them on the Wheel of Fortune card, and you'll see them used to be on the World card, but in the Thoth deck, it's on the Hierophant card.
By the way, just to interject, we had just had the moon on Regulus, by the way.
Oh,
So,
yes. Good
at
point.
29 degrees. Yeah.
That's
So
a
go ahead,
very great
continue.
point. Yes. Well, I recently learned, I think this is a underappreciated condition of the realm right now. And so I'm very excited to get a chance to just proliferate it and offer it up for everybody. But I've recently learned that now this is hard to explain in words, but essentially that the 4 royal, that the degrees of the zodiac that are assigned to those positions have shifted ever so slightly. And that is not to say that the stars have moved. That is to say that the domain of the of the signs, the domain of the signs have shifted slowly over time, and very slowly over time. And so now, as of 2012, the very last of the 4 royal stars is no longer in a fixed sign. The sign has migrated over it, and in 2012, Virgo has overtaken Regulus, and that was the last of a 4-cornered lock becoming unlocked. And now now this process started back in I think 1540 something. I can get this right. Antares rolled into Sagittarius, and then it was only a few years later, 47, that Aldebaran rolled into Gemini, and then it was 1740 something that Fomalhaut moved into Pisces, and then in 2012, the last of the royal stars is now in Virgo, and this means that we are in 4 mutable signs with the royal stars. In 2012 is when they rolled out the Smit-Munt Modernization Act.
Oh.
And they not only, now people say this wrong. They say they made it legal to lie to you. That's incorrect. They incentivized propagandizing Americans. They didn't just make it legal, they made it beneficial if you lie to Americans. And so if anybody doesn't know what the Smit-Munt Modernization Act is, you should research it, and you should proliferate it and tell your neighbors, tell your friends, because we are officially in an incredibly mutable age. This is climate change.
Yeah.
The alchemical symbol for change is a plus sign. Sometimes it's an X, but generally it's the plus sign, is the mutable symbol. We have Disney Plus, LGBTQ plus, Amazon plus. We have climate change. Even when you text on your phone, autocorrect is mutable. It's the spirit of mutability. And now I've got to get really weird, and I'm going to tell you that they mean mutable in every possible way. We just went with 2 years. Everybody was mutable, mutable.
Wow.
They put the mask over our face. They changed your ability to communicate.
Muted.
For 2 years.
Muted.
Muted. And this is why X-Men are mutants. We're going to have a mutiny on our hands if we're not careful.
Semantics. Everything's about semantics, for real. Yeah.
Yes, the spirit of mutability is upon us, and a lot of people are not informed that they didn't get the terms of the agreement. So I'm going to say this one last thing. I know I keep saying I'll shut up, but Smit-Munt Modernization Act, I pronounce it very intentionally because it has 4 T's in it. It has the 4 mutable signs encoded in the Smit-Munt Modernization Act. It has, that's your disclosure right there.
Wow. That's beautiful. Just clever. You are a
Tell me more,
very deep guy. You definitely, you dig. And that's, I think everybody should be doing that. It's great. Very, very informative. Claire,
and we dig you.
Yes.
We dig you, but we won't dig you in. We won't dig you in early grave, but we dig you.
Claire, do you have anything to add to that?
You know what? My kitty cat is out, wants to come in. I
I
locked her
know.
out because she's a jumper, and she would have knocked over my camera. And I don't have anything to say about that. Only there was one other little point about opposition signs in astrology, like Scorpio and Taurus, right?
Mhm.
You are directly opposite each other, but you give each other an honest assessment of
Absolutely.
what
Just
you see.
two sides of one coin. Absolutely. Mhm. I agree.
And and trines are easier to flow with. A square like Leo and Aquarius are out to my side, and I have, we have that's where the grading comes in. That's where the challenge comes in. That's why it was such an irritating full moon with Uranus in the mix. It was a big T square.
Where? Yeah.
And but it gooses you along to improve yourself and make the necessary changes that you must make in your life, or get off the planet.
Yeah.
You gotta do the work. You gotta do the work. You gotta do the work.
Yeah, I got a major reality
That's a
weekend, so I completely understand. It hit me hard. I'm a
Well,
Scorpio too, so whew.
oh, and no one gets the deep passions of the Scorpio. And but look out, you don't want to tick one of them off. I mean, I know Scorpio's got a bad rap, but they've evolved so much. But there's still a handful of them out there that they will get you if you cross them.
Yeah.
So I mean, they because they've got deep and you don't know if they're mad at you or not. But Scorpios are heavy dudes.
Yes, I hear that a
They know
lot.
the occult.
People either like me or hate me.
They're good with money. They're good with other people's money. Oh, well, I make enemies so fast you wouldn't believe. No, I'm just kidding. I've got Saturn conjunct my sun.
It's that Scorpio. We pull out that hidden in people and it triggers them. They don't like that, and we're very open with it. And we don't see it as an ailment or something that needs to be hidden. We see it as like, hey, if you work on this, it's actually a superpower. But people aren't confident enough in themselves to dig into the mucky stuff of Scorpio, and they're hidden. So we kind of get projected on a lot, and it's tough.
It's fear. It's their fear. It's their fear that stops them from going there. But you can go there. It's intense, Scorpio.
Yeah, and we are definitely ego killers.
You rule the underworld. Yeah. Yeah.
I've made a lot of enemies
and they'll say,
bringing egos down. I've had to learn and really work with my energy because it's very, very intense. So absolutely. But so let's see what else.
You do great. Yeah.
You think so? I always looked at
should I let my cat?
Yeah, bring your kitty in. I was admiring your cat from the background earlier. She's cute.
Oh, you mean the one in the window?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's not making a fuss now, so I can go on. Okay.
Let's talk about
that. But I've got double bubble here next to me.
We could bring animals into that too, because I feel like animals are very symbolic as well. Like they're here as our guides, our protectors, things of that nature. How do you guys feel that works with spirit?
I think they're wonderful. They have no ego. They're so receptive to healing, and they're you can heal them so much easier. Humans, we're in our meat suits. Mm-hmm. Humans are more difficult to deal with and heal because of their egos. But the little pets and animals, I've dowsed kitty cats. I've rescued them for 32 years off and on. And I've done a lot of dowsing and healing work on them, and they are so receptive to it that if you put the pendulum over their crown, they will just lay down, and then you can douse them and find out what their issues are, if their back hurts, or if there's maps and books and written on how to heal pets. But I totally think they are I don't want to say this, angels in fur. I don't want to sound like a libtard, but
they're
just
healers. They're
kidding.
definitely healers. They sit in the sixth house of health, and so they come to heal our
Empaths.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, yes. My sixth house has Jupiter in it, and Saturn's in there now too. So I'm keeping my eyes on my kitty cats, because I had one die in September. She died, and sixth house energy. When there's hard aspects to your sixth house, not only do you have to watch your own health, but you got to watch out your kitty's health. You have to, I think it was Hippocrates said that in order for one to practice medicine, they must have a knowledge of astrology, because
I agree with that.
For healing.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love that. And I love working on kitty cats, even remotely. Even if I have a picture of them, I could work on them and douse their picture remotely, and they'd feel better. And you can actually heal them like that remotely, Yeah. And people too, because energy follows thought impresses upon matter, and there's no boundary now, there's no limit. I mean, energy from across the world can affect you and the way you feel. That's why you like to clear the collective consciousness's non-beneficial thoughts and toxicity, because we can absorb that if we don't know how to clear it and keep ourselves protected from it, while we're trying to help them remotely, and they don't even know it. You can work on people and without a trace with dowsing, and you can clear them. You can clear out the lower forms of creation that are in their auric energy
That's
fields.
scary to think too. That's scary to think on a level where, like, people who might have bad intentions and have that ability, what they could be doing to people out here, just sending them bad, as they say, juju, or causing problems in their lives, and we don't even realize that it's potentially a source out of us that's sending that evil eye.
You can clear that. You can clear that. Everybody should have a knowledge of dowsing now too, because it's fast. I mean, you need to learn it, and you need to learn it right. So I suggest, if you want to learn about keeping your energy clean, since what have we got, 8 million people on the planet now? Where do they come from? And what are they? I mean, there's a lot of energy. The energy's really amped up on the planet now, as we're, the fifth dimensional transition and all that.
Energy. We're in the vibrational world now. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to know how to keep our energy clean and how to stop thinking at the right time for it. Because if you think of someone, and even if they're on the other side, they're not even in human form anymore, they can pick up on you, and you can connect and they can throw an astral cord out at you and connect to you. So you have to watch your thoughts, and you got to learn how to keep yourself clean, and you can do that with dowsing. It's so much easier with dowsing. That's why I recommend Raymond Grace .us .gov, I think.
For me, I've been a lifelong martial artist. And
that's
so
it.
And so for me,
I have and move energy around.
Yes, and I have my own form of dowsing, you could say. And so with that in mind, I think that everybody has an art, even people who don't believe that they're artistic. I think that there's probably not giving themselves as much credit as they probably should.
Well, it's dormant. It's sleep. They're not aware to it.
Totally, yes. So I think that everybody has a filter or a purification system, and you can really you can lean in when you need to and engage it. Be more and more proactive about whatever your art is, because we are like different animals I call it the zodiac. We're like different animals around the zoo.
Which is why I brought up animals, because I feel like they are very much relatable to us. This is why they're here. They mirror us. They work within the energy for us, and they help us. So
and they feel everything we feel. So we got everybody
so
wants to
with that
feel
in mind,
good, and
with
that's
that in
what we're
mind,
working on.
I got
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
Since we understand that animals feel us and they have feelings, they are sentient. What do you guys feel about this whole newfound veganism? Because we are in a seven hearts year, and it should be imploding this year. Seven of Hearts rules vegans. So what do you guys feel about that when we are intaking animals that are suffering? Do you think that the energy shifts into us? Does it die out when the animal dies out? Do you have a feeling about it? Do you go ahead.
About the pain an animal might be in when they need healing?
Yeah, or no, like when we're eating animals, what do you subscribe to that? Because there's a lot of people that are moving towards veganism now. And it's because people are starting to
Right.
recognize that animals are sentient, they have feelings, and that we are, I believe personally, because I'm a vegan, I believe that the more that we
Right.
harm and eat animals, the more that we are like getting our vibration off of the proper frequency, because they're supposed to be here too,
It
and they're not
can
supposed
lower.
to be
Yeah.
mutilated. Yeah. So I know I don't push that on anybody
Yeah.
else's personal belief, but I would like to hear your guys'
Right.
idea on that.
Well, if you have to eat a burger from a store because you've got nothing else to eat or something like that, you can bless it, you can douse it, and you can clean and clear its energy and thank the animal for sacrificing its life for you so that you could sustain yours if you have to go there, or
Yeah, see, and
but I know a
that's
guy
good.
that I've heard of a man that's
That's actually good that you brought that up, because I've been struggling with that. Like, the way that the cost of living is right now, the price of food, I can't really afford to be a vegan at this point, and I have been for about 3 years. And so I get guilty where it's like, okay, I need to eat, but all I have is these burgers in the fridge. Can I eat this? And so I always wonder, like, is that real? Like, can I sit here and bless it and thank it for being a sacrifice for me, and ingest it and not intake its energy and its suffering, So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people are struggling with vegan and eating this and that. It's really being promoted big time to us right now. So
interesting point is that if you, this is from Joey Korn, thank you, not please, but divine source, or however you address your power, divine source, thank you for blessing this food physically, and you go slow, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
okay, that makes sense.
And you physically, and you go say it slow, and then you flash the white light down on the food and ask that it be purified and cleansed, and thank everybody who everybody who handled that food before it went down over the lips and past the tongue. Look out, hamburger, here I
Which is
come.
why we've had those traditions of praying over our food with religions for so many years. Okay, so maybe they
but you say,
yeah.
thank you for cleansing the energy. Don't say please cleanse the energy, because that means it's just say thank you for
We're going back to
cleansing
the
energy.
words now,
And then
our power with our words. Go ahead,
Yes,
Gabriel.
this is why it's called pray. It's our pray.
Wow.
It's fused
the more you
in,
beg for pray, the more you beg for something. Oh, please make this change in my life. Please I need $20. Well, please. What are you doing? You're just making yourself poor.
But if you're eating
you're
meat,
keeping yourself.
If you're eating meat, you are eating prey.
Yeah.
The food is your prey.
I hear you.
The word for it is reminding you, don't forget to be grateful. And I love what you're saying about be thankful. Don't ask for, be thankful that you have. This is why Thanksgiving comes before the gifts of Christmas.
Wow. Yeah.
You give thanks so that you can receive.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
I love pointing. Yeah, you're well. Thank you
for that.
Thank you for hearing me.
Yeah, Gabriel, check out, like I said, the big brains on Gabriel. Tell me more.
Yeah, I got a huge hat size.
But are you a Sag? Wait a minute. What sign is Gabriel?
I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo, but they say that I have a Sag as my rising, and my moon is in Aries.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh,
That
you're
makes
on
sense with the
fire.
archer in the back. You're definitely a Sag rising. People will see you as a Sag. hmm And that you do
Yeah,
have the features as well, because astrology is not just mechanical. We can see different studies and different practices where you can actually see it anatomically on people, on their features. So that's interesting to hear that.
Right,
And it's crazy how we all kind
right.
of aligned up here, because I believe Esso is a Sag. You're a Sag rising. I'm a Leo moon. You're a Leo sun. I'm a Pisces rising. She's a Pisces moon. So we're kind of all just like, hey, we just mix very well here. I love how the
And
energy work.
I've got my son and moon are in the ninth house of
And
Sag,
Sag, look at
giving me
that.
that Sag flavor. I've always had to work with Sages,
I am
and
a
they
10th
make me
house
step
Sag.
up to the
So
plate, and
I
they
typically
make me
work
try
with
to
a
be
lot of
smarter.
Sages because of my 10th house. So that's hilarious to hear that. Like we're all kind of, well, the teachers here. Very
yeah.
nice. So, go
I'm
ahead.
Virgo rising. Yeah, I have a
Uh,
Virgo chart signature, but we won't get into that now. Go ahead, Gabriel. We want to hear what you've got.
my kiddo, who is, oh my gosh, she's 13 soon. She's a Sag, and it's amazing because first she learned the guitar, and so I told her she's a sage guitarius.
Wow.
It,
Wow.
and there's a minor decade of Sagittarius is the Lyra constellation. It's the little harp in the sky, and that's her name. Her name is Lyra. And this
Oh,
all happened before I knew what was going on with the
nothing
stars.
happens by chance, man. The stars
Yes,
I tell people it's like things are already written. Some people get uncomfortable. I'm like, it's not, but it doesn't mean you're trapped or anything. You just got to understand that we consciously make the story happen and it reflects from
right.
up there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
And then it was years later she picked up the bow and arrow, and now she's both a sage guitarius and she's a pretty darn good shot too.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
How
Nice.
precious.
So I believe
How
we have,
precious. How old is she?
go ahead.
13, almost. She's almost 13. She thinks she's 17,
That's to
but
be in a Jupiter year too. That's cool.
yeah, yeah.
Look out, 13. Oh my goodness gracious.
Intense year. So I think we're coming down to the last 5 minutes, I believe. So if anybody else has something they want to say before we close this out, we'll go ahead and give you guys the floor.
I'm
After you, Mona.
just grateful to be here. And I'm talked out. I'd love what Gabriel would, I'd love to listen to you and Gabriel.
Yeah, Gabriel, you can close it out for us.
Oh,
Yeah,
very nice.
Leave us with some like amazing quote. Like you're really good with it sounds like semantics and communication and like linguistics. This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that you can really break words down and get deeper meanings with it. I love that.
Well, my oh my, the pressure's on. Uh, well, I think that since we are coming into a mutable age, it can be good news. And now that you know about it, you can act upon that knowledge. You can harness the spirit of the energy of this age that has come upon us. And hopefully, the idea of why you're seeing all the plus signs and you're realizing that, oh, the climate change, it really is a powerful spell that everybody is under, whether they consented to it or not.
Yes.
It has been disclosed, but now it's disclosed to you on a deeper level. And so I will say that the good news about living in a mutable age is that you can face that which you feared. You can face what you thought was oppositional, and you can face it head on, and you can address it actively to elicit the change that you want, because in the space of fearfulness is where opportunity lies. And this is opportunity, opposition,
Opposition. Yeah.
all of these opposites,
There goes.
they can be head dressed.
That's right.
You can address them face on. And so I just
Go
encourage,
there.
yes, I encourage everybody to look right in the eyes of that which you fear the most and conquer it. Make it your ally. Turn your enemy to your ally, because the spirit of the age is going to work with you when you embrace the nature of change. It is a time for change. Pluto has
You're
returned.
so right.
Nice.
You're so right.
Very nice.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Well, thank you guys for being here, being a part of this. And I look forward
Thank
to
you,
the next one,
ESO.
guys.
Yeah.
And thank you, Esso, absolutely, for giving us this platform. I hope you guys all have a
Is it
wonderful
SO or ESO? I just met him. Thank you. It was great to be here. Nice to meet you all.
I like to call
Hope to
him
see you
Mr.
again.
I like to call him Mr. E Thoughts.
Okay.
It's your nickname, E-Thoughts. Well, it's very nice to meet all of you guys, and thank you so much for being on this platform tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great to meet you all too.